I am the Director of Law Enforcement Equality Reform. I want to talk to you all today about one of the initiatives that our organization is bringing forth. Our organization is proposing the 28th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Some have said, why do you need an amendment to the Constitution in order to reform law enforcement? Well, and that's what I want to explain today. The 28th Amendment is needed because law enforcement is a state function. Each state determines its own criteria, standards, because Article 1, Section 8 gives the federal government very little authority to address state and local law enforcement. At Lear, we believe that we need a national standard for law enforcement, a training standard, criteria. We do not believe that the federal government should take over state law enforcement. The idea would be federal oversight because sunlight is ultimately the best disinfectant. One of the challenges of amending the Constitution is that 38 states need to agree. The ideas are equal justice under the law for everyone. That's an American ideal. It's a foundational principle of our country. However, you cannot have equal justice under the law if you don't have equal laws. So if Ohio has a law that says you can't do a no-knock raid, but Virginia says that you can do a no-knock raid, then we don't have a federal standard of what is to be done. In some instances, this is good because ultimately in America, because of our history, we do see some of the challenges that have been associated with law enforcement reform. Most of them are historical. The arguments of why was a law created or who it affects the most, in order to understand that, you have to go into the history of law enforcement in America. For an example, in 1863, the state of Georgia passed the citizen's arrest law. Well, you would have to know what was happening in Georgia in 1863 to understand why that law was important. It was at the height of the Civil War. Most of the slave patrols were off supporting the war effort, and the government of the state wanted to augment slave catchers, so they gave citizens the right to arrest black people. Now, fast forward, that law applies to everybody, but we see it disproportionately used against certain individuals in our community. And this is why Ahmaud Arbery was killed under the pretense of a citizen's arrest when he had committed no crime. As you see that the challenges, because there's a historical context to policing, a lot of the challenges are legacy. So the amendment's job is to create equality across the board so that states will ultimately retain policing power because ultimately it's their responsibility. But it'd be the same way in during the civil rights movement or during Reconstruction when federal marshals came in to escort people to school. And they had to do that because the state was not protecting everyone equally. So the federal government had to come in and say, look, that's not right. And as you look at policing today, the same thing is happening. There are a lot of things and injustices that are happening at the state level. If you look at Breonna Taylor and the laws that have been passed in the wake of that tragedy, where a lot of states are adopting this no-knock ban. It'd be nice if we all had that luxury, that we didn't have to worry about our doors getting busted in at 2 a.m. For some faulty accusations. So therefore, it is our goal to advocate for our amendment. Our amendment can be found at our website. I would encourage you all to look at it. We will be posting it online, and we want to get feedback because ultimately it has to be a buy-in process. There are people who will disagree with it. We believe that information should be research-based, that it shouldn't be emotionalism or sensationalism. It should be facts and data. Thank you for your time.